Our guest today is the governor's point person on education reform and is leading efforts to increase college completion. She graduated from Georgetown University's College of Law. Her parents, the late Jean and the late United States Senator Paul Simon, devoted their entire lives to public service. Our guest today and her husband, who is here today, Perry, where are you? There we go. Perry, stand up. I know she's going to acknowledge you. Welcome. Are the proud parents of two beautiful daughters, Riley and Brennan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the City Club of Chicago, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Simon. And while she's coming up, there's Erin Lavin Cabinargi, who I also forgot. Thank you. All right, have fun up here. All right, have
wonderful.
fun.
Woo! Sit down. Thank you. Sit down already. What fun. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Dan. Sure appreciate it. And thanks to all the elected officials who are here. I'm glad you got everyone to stand up and announce themselves. I was trying hard to keep track of who I should say hello to. I'd like to single out just a couple of not elected officials who are a part of education, and that's Jeff Oberzut, who is here somewhere from the Community College Board. Yay, Jeff. And George Reed from the Board of Higher Education in the back. Yay, George. And all of the folks really are a part of a team of working on education in Illinois, and it's not always easy to do, and they do it, they pull it off. Let me also introduce some other folks who are key leaders in education in Illinois who didn't get to stand up yet, and that is community college presidents, because there are a lot of them here. Could all of you stand up, please? Yay. All right. Thank you very much. If you don't know them, make sure before you leave here today that you introduce yourself to a couple community college presidents, because they are a passionate, dedicated bunch of public servants and are doing a great job, and I have appreciated getting a chance to meet all of them. And let me also acknowledge, he already got introduced, but my husband Perry, who is not only my husband, yay Perry, you got a big fan club here. But he is also my favorite community college professor. Yeah. And I have to say, it's totally cool to be here. Where's Dave Strickland, who's my buddy from Carbondale? Dave and I went to junior high together, and we were saying, there's really nothing like this that goes on in Carbondale. I think maybe every once in a while we all meet up at Mary Lou's by accident, but there's nothing like this that's a real slice of the leadership of the city and the state, which is a really fantastic opportunity to get to be here. And if I had to generalize about you and your image of college, it would probably be an old institution, maybe covered with ivy. There would be dormitories nearby, and you would go there for 4 years. And that's an image of college, but that's not everyone's image of college. That's not the image of college for my husband Perry, who started college at Wren Lake Community College. It's not the image of college of Cheryl Hyman, who started at Olive Harvey. For a lot of people in our state, the image of college is community college. And there's a lot of reasons why students like community college. Community colleges are financially and geographically accessible. They're where you can go. And they're also an open door. Whether you are an English language learner, whether you're changing careers, whether you're a late bloomer or just out of high school, the community college doors are open to you, and that makes a big difference. But it's not just the students who like community colleges, it's employers. Employers like Caterpillar. When they're building a new engine, they go to the community college professors at Illinois Central College in Peoria and work out a plan to train their existing workers and future workers on how to build that new engine. Let's see, anyone shop at Whole Foods? You're probably buying food from Blackhawk College, grown by students there in a program that grows entrepreneurs to meet needs for a growing demand for locally grown organic food. And welders in high demand. And where's Dr. Sam from Elgin, is somewhere here. At Elgin Community College, they have an English language learners welder program. Yeah, how cool is that? So the English professor attends the welding classes with the welding students, and the English classes and the vocabulary are all based on what you need to know for welding. It really works for a lot of people and getting a lot of people into good jobs. So these job-to-school connections are really an important part of our economy. But community colleges are often overlooked, and we need to change that. We need to change that because we need to do that for ourselves. Our unemployment rate in Illinois is unacceptably high, and at the same time in the state we have about 142,000 unfilled jobs. That's because we're not matching the job needs with the training of people who are available and who want jobs. And economists tell us that that gap will grow if we don't address it. That as we move into the future, we're going to need to have 2/3 of our workforce to have those degrees and credentials. And so as a state, we have set a goal. By 2025, we're going to have 60% of our working age population have a college credential, whether it's a 4-year degree, an associate's degree, or a certificate from a community college. And we're going to be able to get there from our 41% where we're at right now. And 41% doesn't sound like too much. We're actually ahead of most states. So we've got a good starting place. But it's going to take some work. And all higher education institutions are going to have to play a part in that. But the one institution that can do the best job at boosting up that college rate is community colleges. Community colleges are affordable, flexible, and they've got the enrollment. But right now, we're not focusing enough on getting the job done. We count the number of students who walk in the doors to community colleges, and we need to be counting more often the number of students who walk across the stage with that diploma or certificate in hand. I got to be at Wabansee's college graduation this past spring and met a student named Carla Childs who was there. She was a mother of several children, had a high school education, and when her oldest daughter got big enough to go to college, she took her to Wabansee for the placement test, and Carla said, "What the heck, I'll take the placement test too." So she took the placement test, and 3 years later, she was in the graduating class at Wabansie. Right now, she's in her second semester at SIU in Carbondale studying criminal justice. Way to go, Carla. Carla's story is an exceptional one, and that's the problem. Only about 1 of 5 students who enters a community college to go to school full-time gets an associate's degree within 3 years. So that means 4 out of 5 students are falling off along the wayside, dropping out, getting discouraged, taking longer than 3 years. So while Illinois community colleges enroll more students than our public universities, they produce fewer degrees. So what do we do to turn Carla Child's success story into a story of success for every college student? So I thought I would like to find out for myself, right? How many community colleges do we have in the state of Illinois? 48. And when I told my staff, I'd like to visit all 48 community colleges, a few people fainted right away. But they recovered nicely and put on a lot of miles with me, and I very much appreciate that. Visited every community college in the city, in the suburbs, from Highland in the northwest, where they still want me to climb up into a wind turbine with them. I'm working up the courage to do that, to Southwestern down in the Metro East area, to Southeastern and Harrisburg, down to Shawnee College and Ullen, which is about 300 miles south of where we are right now. And I learned firsthand about efforts to connect students to the workforce and efforts to get students to complete what they started out. As a culmination of that, today I'm releasing a report to the Governor and the General Assembly that outlines steps that we can take to help students start and get those degrees that they want. It would be, by the way, very easy to produce a list of recommendations if we had a lot of money. Like, for example, I would love to say, let's fund MAP grants more effectively. They mean opportunity for so many students. Don't applaud yet. Right, because I'd love to say that, but where's the money, right? Let's be realistic. So what I've tried to come up with in this package of recommendations, which you can all, by the way, get through our website. We're so cheap that we did not give you a copy here. But I recommend it for reading. But our recommendations focus on ways that we can change institutional mindsets, rethink how we spend current resources, and achieve those completion goals. And my report is really fairly long, and I won't take you through all of it, believe me. But let me just talk about two parts that I think are really critical: transparency and collaboration. And transparency is something that we all grow more accustomed to over time, right? This afternoon, I will have a can of Mountain Dew. And on the side of the can of Mountain Dew will be a label that tells me how many calories are in the Mountain Dew. And that's why I'll have only one can of Mountain Dew when I would like to have two. So we're used to that kind of transparency. We're even used to that in education. Our kids bring home report cards, and we get report cards about their grade schools and high schools. We're able to help use those bits of information to help guide policy, to help make decisions. It's time for community colleges to have that kind of transparency so students can make good decisions semester by semester and show how many students are enrolling, how many are persisting to the next semester, how many are getting those certificates and degrees that brought them to the campus in the first place. These consumer reports will give students a more accurate picture of what they can get out of education and how they can target their resources. So we need to start with transparency to show where we're being successful, but we also need to move and be more successful where we can. And one way to do that is to build that Illinois system of education that I started talking about, that so many of the folks here are working on, to make an effective P through 20 system, preschool through graduate system. Think about it this way. If you've got a kid in school who's moving from 4th grade to 5th grade, you're probably not too worried about the transition. The teachers are going to talk with one another, and it's going to be smooth because we've made it smooth. We ought to have that same kind of smooth transition between high schools and community colleges to four-year colleges and universities. We need to do that to be able to use our resources better. And I'll tell you the single most area where that room for improvement is most obvious is in the area of math. And here I'm about to lose the vote of every high school senior. In Illinois, we require 3 years of math in high school, not 4. So what that means is so many high school seniors take a vacation year from math. And that means then that about 1 in 3 students arriving at community colleges arrives not ready for college-level math. That means they have to spend time in remediation. That means they have to invest their college savings and our MAP grant money and our investment in education, in remedial education. It means they slow down their time to degree. It means they're more likely to not complete what they wanted to get out of the community college. So we have several ways we can tackle that. I am recommending in my report that the State Board of Education consider whether it's time to join the other states and require 4 years of math in high school like we require 4 years of English. A vacation from math is a good way to develop math atrophy. And if I asked any of you trigonometry problems, some people in the audience might get scared right now. Trigonometry, by the way, though, is really necessary for manufacturing, right? We're not just talking about learning math so you can learn math. We're talking about learning math so you can do the job. So there's lots of ways we can approach that. We can require 4 years of math. We can work on that in the way Harper, and President Ken Ender is here, has been working with its feeder high schools. Harper makes sure that all the students in the feeder high schools get in their junior year a college placement test. So they know when they're signing up for classes in their senior year of high school that they might be in remedial math. They know it's time to take the opportunity to take that 4th year of math. And their high school counselors recommend a 4th year of math even for the people who aren't struggling so that they don't have an atrophy of those math muscles. And it seems to be working. Every year, as the number of students in these feeder high schools increase in terms of taking a senior year math, the number of students who require remedial math at Harper College goes down. It means we're spending our education dollars much more wisely, and that's something we need to look at doing more often. We also need to address students who arrive at community colleges without that math skill ready, for whatever reason, because they've taken off time to work, have a family, and don't have that facility with math. And here, Wilbur Wright College in the city and their reinvention program is one of the many community colleges that's leading the way in an online math remediation program. It's online, and it focuses just on what you need to know, right? If you can multiply fractions, you don't need to mess with that chapter. But if you're having trouble with quadratic equations, then you focus on that. And even though it's online, it's in class with a teacher present, so the minute that you've got a question or a problem that you're struggling with, you'll let them know, and the teacher comes over and you work on just what you need to know. It's reducing the time that students need to spend in remediation, getting them to that credit-bearing course faster. And for students who are college ready, we need to make sure that they don't hesitate to start taking college courses when they're still in high school. Every community college offers in one way or another, whether it's at the community college or at the high school, dual credit opportunities so that students can take that college level course while they're still in high school. It's a tremendous opportunity, and there's a study done by SIU Edwardsville that shows that this dual credit opportunity is targeted and works most effectively for those who we most want to reach. Those students who are financially challenged in terms of getting to college, but have the potential to do well in college. So we need to focus more attention on dual credit. And finally, we need to make sure that when students earn their credit at a community college, it's recognized by the four-year school. There we go. We have a good system in Illinois. It's better than what most states have. A process whereby the community colleges and four-year schools get together and agree what classes will transfer in terms of credit. It's time we put some teeth into that system so that students know when they're enrolled in a course, this is or is not going to transfer with credit. Because spending money to take a college class twice is not a good use of any of our college dollars. The reforms that I proposed, of which I've highlighted really just a few here, are aimed to strengthen a good system, to take advantage of opportunities where we have them. As a state, we need to broaden our focus and bring our community colleges into the spotlight as we work to rebuild our economy. Our high schools need to send students to community colleges ready to learn. Our community colleges need to focus attention not just on access, but on completion. And community college graduates will have the skills necessary to enter the workforce or transfer to a university. The working together that's required to get this done is not terribly easy, but it is imperative. Because everything that I've said about education here today is also all about jobs. We have to help students finish what they start. We have to be a state that draws in employers, a state that promotes entrepreneurs, and a state that has a base for a strong and flexible economy, not just as we get out of this recession, but for generations to come. And I look forward to building that state with you. Thank you very much. All right. So now we get questions, right?
Here come the questions.
Okay.
Okay. First question, I'm reading these for the first time too. From my fellow board member, Joyce Saxton. My friend who teaches at Oakton Community College tells me Pell Grant recipients take the money, then leave before finishing their coursework. Can anything be done about this abuse?
Okay.
Governor?
Yeah. There are a lot of people who have a perception about Pell Grant use, and I think the main thing to focus on is that most of the people who get Pell Grants and MAP grants are students who are desperate to get an education and are patching together the funds from a number of sources, and most of them are used wisely. I think in terms of the federal government, there is some room to tighten up what Pell Grants are spent on and to make sure that students aren't getting into school and dropping out. Because of course, remember, the student loans are not something that goes away, right? If you don't get the job, you still got the student loan. So we have some room for improvement there. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. Our president mentioned the Haymarket Center, Monsignor McDermott's legacy a few moments ago. We have Jeffrey Collard from the center, and his question is, treatment for alcoholism and drug abuse saves Illinois millions of dollars in prison costs, emergency room costs, child welfare involvement, and special education. Will the governor commit to preserving the budget for substance abuse treatment so providers can continue to meet the needs and save costs? Well, there you are.
Well, the governor's coming later. I'll let him answer that one, right? That's far too easy. Obviously, the budget is a challenge, right? Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that we need to address pensions in the state, that that's part of what is squeezing our budget. And I would say that now is the time to be advocating for what you're up to. And I absolutely agree with you that alcohol prevention and all sorts of treatment saves us money in the long run, just as education does. And there are lots of balances that we need to make. And so now is the time to be able to speak up particularly for those who don't get spoken up for, right? Think about the money involved in the political process, and think about who makes campaign contributions, and I'm sure many of you here do, and think about who doesn't. And I think it's our obligation as leaders to speak up for those who don't have the ability to play a role in the system that way, and for those who don't vote at all because they're children. So it's a very important time to be able to make the best case, and everyone has their own field in which they're working, right? If you're working in alcohol treatment, then you can see the reality of how that helps people, and you need to be able to advocate for that. And unfortunately, it falls on those of us in state government at whatever level to have to make those balances, and there's some really hard decisions coming up. So I wish I could offer guarantees. I can't, except that I can guarantee that if you keep your voice in the process, I think we'll make a better decision.
Thank you. A reminder, all questions must be in writing, so speak now or write now or forever hold your peace. Another question from a name associated with a great Chicago institution. Christy Hefner asks, what role do you think for-profit colleges should have in meeting the needs of students and employers in Illinois?
Okay, that's a great question, Christy. Thank you. It's a real interesting one because I think, again, in a time of when resources are scarce, we have to examine where our resources are going, and there's a lot of examination on the role of for-profit schools and the responsibility that we have, particularly to students who are attending those schools. I'll tell you the one area that's often overlooked is our ability to learn from the for-profit schools. For-profit schools in Illinois are often offering courses of study that are either packaged in a way where students know when they're going to start, when they're going to finish, when they're going to do every course, and not necessarily at the same starting time, right? In academia, we believe that there are certain hallowed holidays and ways of doing things, and the for-profit schools have realized not everyone needs to start their program in September or January, and that something in between can meet the demands of students and supply the demands of employers. So I think there's some things from for-profit schools that we have to be wise enough to learn from in the public sector.
Thank you very much. That's
well,
everything.
All right.
As you know, the brand Simon is an extremely respected one in the state of Illinois, and you wear it quite well.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave,